Tanya, chapter 15. This is a very essential chapter because it speaks to the essence of what are we doing on a day-to-day basis, of pushing ourselves. It teaches us how we need to push ourselves. And not in physical things, maybe that's also a good thing, but in a spiritual way. How can we push ourselves spiritually? And more specifically, how can the Beinoni, who is what we should all strive to be, push himself on a day-to-day basis? פרק ט"ו, ובזה יובן מה שכתוב, ושבתם וראיתם בין צדיק לרשע, בין עובד אלוהים לאשר לא עבדו, chapter 15. With this we can understand the verse, and you will sit and see the difference between a tzaddik, a righteous man, a rasha, a wicked man, someone who serves God, and that who doesn't serve God. Now, this is a quote from a verse, and the Gemara relates that Ben Hey asked Hillel. The verse is redundant. First it says that there's a tzaddik and a rasha, and then it says he who serves God and he who doesn't. He asked him, a tzaddik is one who serves God, and a rasha is he who doesn't serve God. So Hillel answered him that the term serve God and doesn't serve God applies to the tzaddik in the sense that he doesn't compare, as he says, someone who learned something 100 times, as is the norm, or was the norm in those days. Take a piece of learning and learn it 100 times, compared to someone who learned something 101 times. And so Ben Hey replied, just for that one extra time, he's called someone who serves God. And Hillel explained that you can understand it from a donkey driver. In those days, instead of taxis, they had donkey drivers, who is willing to go 10 parsa, which is a measurement, say 10 miles in our language maybe, or 10 kilometers, for one zuz, which is a coin or a currency. And then to go one extra parsa, to go 11 parsa, he'll charge double the amount. He'll charge 2 zuz, because that one extra amount is much more than the norm. And we're going to break this down. And now he's going to explain that the term tzaddik over here actually also, and mainly in our explanation, refers to the Beinoni. As he says, שההפרש בין עובד אלוהים לצדיק הוא שעובד הוא לשון הווה שהוא באמצע העבודה שהיא המלחמה עם היצר הרע. So the difference between one who serves God and a tzaddik, so one who serves God is serves is in the present tense, which means he's in the middle of his service of God. What is the service of God? That refers to the battle with the evil inclination. להתגבר עליו ולגרשו שמאיר קטנה שלהתלבש באיברי הגוף. To overpower the evil inclination and remove it from the small city, from his body, in order that it doesn't express itself in the limbs of the body. Which is really a service and a labor. Service can be defined as labor, and a great toil to constantly battle with the evil inclination, and that is the Beinoni. The Beinoni is someone who his entire life, and this is again a normal person, like all of us, or most of us are, that his entire life hasn't beat, so to speak, the evil inclination. It's a constant battle. It's a daily battle. The evil inclination is in its full force, and it's always battling day to day throughout one's entire life. in order that it doesn't come into thought, speech, and action. And as we mentioned before, the evil inclination gets stronger over time. So the battle doesn't stop. Aval hatzadik nikra eved Hashem. However, a tzaddik is not that. A tzaddik is someone who is called the servant of God. We see that expression referred to Moses, our teacher, Moshe Rabbeinu. It says by him that he was Eved Hashem. In our explanation over here, he was a tzaddik. B'shem hato'ach, the servant of God, is a title. Kimo shem chacham melech, like a wise man or a king, shekvar nasa chacham melech, who already became a wise man or already became a king. Kach zeh kvar avad v'gamach legamri avodat hamilchama im hara ad ki v'gershehu v'yelech lo v'libuchalel bekirbo. So to this one, the tzaddik, already served, labored, and completed his service, which is the service of the war with the evil, until he divorced it and got rid of it, and it went, and his heart became void within him completely of any evil. As we said before, he completely crippled the evil. For him, for the tzaddik, it's not something that he deals with. He just doesn't deal with evil. It's something that he completed and already overcame. So this is the general difference between the two descriptions. One who serves God, that means that they're currently in a constant battle with the evil inclination, and that refers to a Beinoni. And a servant of God, that is a higher level, and that is a tzaddik who already finished his battle, and he already crippled and banished the evil from his heart. Now these two levels specifically are also found in the Beinoni, which is, again, like I said, by every normal person. The one who serves God and one who doesn't serve God. There are these two levels. But nevertheless, he isn't a wicked man. And as we explained before, a wicked man is someone who by whom the evil comes into and expresses itself in his thought, speech, and action. Because he is holding on a state, he is holding on a level where he never transgressed any sin in his life, even a light sin, and he also fulfilled all the mitzvot that he could possibly fulfill, v'talmud Torah keneged kulam, and the learning of Torah, which is equal to all of the mitzvot, and his mouth does not cease from speaking Torah. This is a Beinoni. A Beinoni is not wicked. A Beinoni is holding on a level where, as I mentioned before, he might have become a Baal Teshuvah, he might have had a history of being wicked, but on the level that he's holding now, if he was in the position he used to be, he wouldn't have come to that sin. So he is someone that sin does not relate to him. So how can we say that he doesn't serve God? He explains, Ela she'eino osa shum milchama im hayetzer, lenatzcho al yidei or Hashem ha'meir al nefesh ha'elohit shebamoach, hashalit ha'lelev kaniskoch le'il. Rather, the idea is he doesn't make any war with the evil inclination to conquer it with the light of God that shines upon the godly soul in the mind, that is dominant and has control over the heart, as we mentioned before, that the ability to conquer the heart is thanks to the light of God in the mind, he doesn't utilize that advantage to fight further with the evil inclination, being that the evil inclination doesn't oppose him at all to cause him to cease from his Torah learning and his service of God, in that he doesn't feel the evil inclination. The evil inclination leaves him alone. And he doesn't need to wage war with it, with the evil inclination at all. For example, he is consistent in his learning naturally from his birth, from his childhood, through a prominence of a melancholy feeling. And some people, most people are not like this. Most normal people, let's say, have a drive, a big wild drive toward things, and a lot of times that comes from an evil place, from the animal soul, which desires evil things. However, there are some people who naturally don't have a wild drive. They're not looking to be stormy. Naturally, they have a feeling of melancholy, and they are willing to sit and be calm. They're not interested in hype. And if that person is intellectual and they have some sort of sensitivity toward spirituality, then the best thing for that kind of person naturally would be to sit in the corner and learn Torah all the time. It's a natural thing for them. They don't have any battle with an evil inclination naturally. A similar kind of person wouldn't have any kind of wars or battles from the evil inclination with desires for women, lusts for women, because he is naturally cold. He's a cold person. He doesn't get excited about things. And like we said, it's very possible for somebody that has that kind of nature, that is naturally cold, maybe more intellectual, more spiritual, to want to learn Torah the whole day. It's not a struggle. It's not difficult. There's no war from the evil inclination for them. And so to all other kinds of worldly pleasures. He lacks feeling of pleasure naturally. Ein tzarich להתבונן כל כך בגדולת השם, להוליד מבינתו רוח דעת ויראת השם במוחו. And therefore, we mentioned earlier in the last chapter that the way to what a person should always strive to do is to fulfill the oath to be a tzaddik who has an emotional conquering in their heart. That means that emotionally they don't struggle with evil inclination. It's banished from their heart. And a regular person, a Beinoni, should strive to feel the same way by thinking about the greatness of God and thereby having an emotional awe and fear of God. Now this guy that we're giving an example of, he doesn't need to do that. Thank God. He's lucky, so to speak, or people might call that lucky. He doesn't have any fight, and therefore he doesn't need to think greatly about the greatness of God to bring about from his thinking a feeling of attachment and awe of God in his mind, to to guard himself, an awe to guard himself, not to transgress any prohibited mitzvot or commandments, ve'ahavat Hashem b'libu l'dafka b'kiyum mitzvot, and a thinking to cause a love of God in his heart, to attach himself to the fulfillment of mitzvot v'talmud Torah keneged kulan, and the learning of Torah, which is equal to all of the mitzvot. Rather, he is okay with the natural form, the natural being, the natural state of any regular Jew, which is hidden deep in their heart, which is a love of God. Every Jew has this natural state, and thanks to that natural state, he is constantly serving God with no need to increase in any way the emotion of love and awe of God in order to battle, because he doesn't have a battle. That the general populace of the Jewish people are called lovers of his name. And therefore he is not called one who is laboring. He's not working hard at all, because this hidden love isn't his. He didn't cause this love. It's not his service at all. Instead, it is given as an inheritance from our forefathers to the general populace of the Jewish people, as we'll explain later in chapters 18 and 19, that thanks to our forefathers, the Jewish people merited that deep inside, it could be blocked by other things, but deep inside we have a nature of constantly wanting to connect to God. And this person doesn't need to go any further than that. He doesn't need to use any further methodologies or techniques to increase that love and awe and through his thinking. Instead, that is enough. The base for him, which every Jew has, is enough, because as we said, naturally for him there is no battle. So that would be someone that naturally has has no issues with the evil inclination from birth. He's like that. And so too, even someone who is not consistent in his learning, betivo, naturally, instead, he accustomed himself to learn with great consistency. And excuse me, by him the practice became a second nature. And so he maybe in the past did the difficult work to force himself, or not maybe to cause himself to sit down and learn with great consistency without any distractions for hours a day and so on, non-stop. But now, once he already worked on himself, it's easy. It's second nature. So, for him it's enough to have this hidden basic, I'll call it love. The exception would be for these two examples, either someone who from birth is like that, or accustomed themselves to have complete dominance and learn the whole time. If he wants, the exception would be if he wants to learn more than he's accustomed to. And that is now where we come to the second category. ובזה יובן מה שכתוב בגמרא דעובד אלוהים, היינו מי ששונה פיחקו 100 פעמים ואחד, ולא עבדו היינו מי ששונה פיחקו 100 פעמים לבד. And with this we'll understand what we mentioned earlier from the Gemara, that one who learns 100 times is considered someone who does not serve God, or the other way around. One who serves God is one who learns 101 times, whereas one who does not serve God is someone who only learns 100 times. So the difference, like we said before, between serving God and not serving God is just to learn one time that he didn't learn. Even though he learned it 100 times, but he didn't do that extra time, he's considered as already someone who's not serving God. Again, do you actually have to learn 101 times in order to be called someone that serves God? No, we're talking about people who the norm for them is to learn 100 times. And that's what he says over here. And that is because in those days, the norm was to learn every chapter 100 times. So that means this YouTube video, the chapter 15, you must learn it 100 times, or you must watch it 100 times. Okay, but in those days, that was the norm. As it explains over there from the Gemara. So to go one extra time, that's breaking the norm. And that is the whole goal. As it explains there in the Gemara, an example from the marketplace of donkey drivers or taxi donkeys, that for one parsa they would charge 10 parsa. Traveling 10 parsa, they would charge 1 zuz. 11 parsa, one extra time, they would charge double the amount, 2 zuz, because that was more than they were accustomed to do. And that is called labor. Labor doesn't mean doing impossible things, breaking down mountains. Labor means doing a little bit more than you're accustomed to. You're accustomed to 100 times, okay, do it one more time. That's called labor. And because it's more than they're accustomed, therefore this extra time, this 101th time that is more than they're accustomed from their youth, is equal to all of them. That one extra time is equal to the previous 100 times. And it is even greater than them, with much more vigor and strength. Because it now transfers him to the new category, to the higher category of one who serves God, actively labors while serving God. Because in order to change one's norm, how do you do that? By awakening the love of God. How do you awaken the love of God? Through thinking in understanding in one's mind the greatness of God, and then that love causes, or his mind actually, has control, uses that to control the nature in the left side of the heart, which is full of blood from the animal soul, which is from the side that conceals God. Excuse me. That from there is the nature. God, the godly soul is above nature. The animal soul is restricted to nature. So one has to overcome that animal soul that evil inclination in the left side of one's heart, and thereby, by doing that, they can break their nature. V'zuhi avodatam lebenoni, and doing this, using the mind, the power of the mind, to think about the greatness of God and use it to overpower the heart, that is perfect service for the Beinoni. For the Beinoni, that is service, and that is perfect service. Or maybe not such a perfect service, but it's still considered service as follows. Or to awaken the hidden love in his heart that every Jew has deep inside, to sink into the natural state of every Jew. If you sink to your natural state, that is a service. And through that, ruling the nature in the left ventricle of the heart, which this is also called a labor, to battle with the nature and the evil inclination. Through awakening the hidden love in his heart. By contrast, when he doesn't battle at all, this love by itself is not called his service at all, and he's called someone that doesn't serve God. And so what we learned in this chapter is that something very powerful, and that is that you are constantly required, or you constantly need to grow and to do more. Because if you push yourself to do 5% more, then great job, well done. You now have done what you're supposed to do, and that is working hard. Working hard means doing an extra 5%. However, after you've done that, now that's become the norm for you. So now, in order to go further, you have to push yourself a little bit more and continue pushing 5%, and another 5%, another 5%, another 5%, and never stop growing. Because the minute you stay stagnant, then you are considered one who doesn't labor, who doesn't work hard. And that is what I've seen, that the previous Rebbe, at the time of his marriage, asked a blessing from his father, who was the Rebbe Rashab, that was the current Lubavitcher Rebbe at the time. The blessing he asked him was, I shouldn't be, once I get married, a Baal Habas. So a Baal Habas, what does that mean? So it's a great question. So the Rebbe, the current Chabad Rebbe, explains that what it means is someone who every day is the same. Same way he was yesterday, the same person he was yesterday is the same person he is today, and is the same person he is tomorrow. That is not what is nice and what is required of a person, especially of someone who wants to serve God. Instead, he has to constantly grow. Today, more than yesterday, yet much less than tomorrow. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you next time.